Om. Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well, it's so nice to see you all in the new center. First of all, it's so nice to see you all. We miss you, you know, when we're not in India. It's India's the home of our heart, even though I think our bodies are more used to being in the West, and here in California, it's a very nice and a beautiful, beautiful community. But nonetheless, we miss you all when we're away. And it's very nice to see that you're in the new center, and we're eager to come in the fall and be able to come and see everything and be with you all. It's a very, very nice thing and a very good sign of the blessings of the masters that are with us and with you all, that you were able to expand and find the new center and then move into the new center. Everywhere around Nanda, especially in India, there's an expansion going on, and new centers or new meditation groups are starting up. And it's primarily a sign, ultimately, you know, we're the channels, but we're not really the doers. The doer is God and the great masters, but they need willing channels to work through. And being a willing channel is, Master often said that the channel is blessed by that which flows through him or her. And so being a willing channel for the divine means that you're able to have those blessings of the divine flowing through you. I'm in the early stages. Many of you know that I'm working on a book about Ananda Seva, and it'll have many principles in it about how to allow the divine to flow through us, how to feel that we're not only are we serving the divine. In this case, let's use the example of the work that you're doing, the service that you're doing in the new center. There are so many things that are needed as you open a new center and operate a center. You know, altars have to be done, flowers, letting people know, advertising, all of those things. And so the more you can feel that not only are you reaching out when you're doing, for instance, a poster or some flyer or advertising, don't think just in terms of just the technology or the artwork or whatever. Actually, Swamiji used to, when he would write, he would picture a single person in his mind that he was writing that book, and he would, as if having a conversation. So even if you're doing something mundane, you should feel that you're having an interaction, some kind of a conversation with the divine. And if you can do that, then it will elevate the service and elevate the energy. And also then, if you can keep your mind elevated, you can feel more and more that you're not the doer, that it is the divine hand that is working through you. And in any case, I'm writing a book on these principles, and I've finished the introduction and first chapter. And so it'll be some months, but these ideas and principles are in my mind. But for tonight's topic, I'll talk some, then Devi Ji will talk a little bit, and then we'll leave time for questions and answers. Maybe leave 20 minutes or so toward the end of our session together. So, raising your energy. You know, energy, Master gave us so many techniques for working with our energy, for raising our energy. But it's important that we understand the kind of basic principle, because it's not that we have to create energy. Energy surrounds us. Energy is within us. Master said that we couldn't take a single breath. Our heart couldn't beat a single beat without the grace of God sending that energy to us and empowering us. So we don't create that energy. That is something that is just present in the divine. We live in a sea of prana, and it's all around us. It's within us. It's in everything. And behind that prana is also, see, we think of energy as being something physical like electricity, but prana is also intelligence. And so it's God's energy and God's intelligence. And we swim in and are infused with that sea of energy. So as I say, we don't have to create it, but the willpower or willingness with which we serve, with which we act, allows more of that prana to flow or less of it to flow. So there's a certain amount that God has taken away from our conscious control. Thank goodness. Imagine if you had to spend your mental energy, your concentration on keeping your heart beating, or keeping your liver functioning, or even have to think about the muscles involved in taking each step. It would be overwhelming. So God has arranged things so that most of our processes, and especially those that keep us alive on a physical plane, He takes care of that automatically for us. And then we learn certain tasks like walking, and there's a kind of a muscle memory, and we don't have to think about that. But there is also a level of willingness. One might call it discretionary energy or discretionary prana. And it's how much energy we have to consciously put toward a goal. Master defined will as desire plus energy directed toward a goal. And so it can be as simple as standing up from your chair. You have the desire to stand up. You have to have energy behind that so that the muscles, the nerves send energy, the muscles contract in the proper way, and you're able to stand. But that flow of willpower, the desire plus the energy, is what allows us to do something. And so that flow of will, the fundamental law that Master gave us, is the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. And so that's very, very important, because as you start the new center, then there's another aspect to this same law. So the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy, the greater the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. And so in starting this new center, in order to put a kind of a carrier wave out, a magnetic force field out to draw people who might resonate. It's not that you want to draw them just to the center. You want to draw them because we know that these teachings are so helpful. Each one of us have been helped so much in our lives by meditation, by proper attitudes, by satsang together, by having high-minded friends and a nice environment. It's so helpful for a person's life. We get letters, Devi and I get letters all of the time. We just got one, just kind of a heartbreaking letter the last day or two about two parents who are very worried about a daughter that has a tendency toward deep depression, and they're working with that. But we get letters, and fortunately, at least they're connected to Ananda. But people have so many difficulties in life, and if they can have any little connection to these spiritual teachings, it's such an upliftment for them. They can go through these difficulties so much more easily. I don't want to dwell on that because it's a little bit off the topic, but I mention it because one of the things that blocks our energy is thinking that we're, how to put it, to have a resistance to the flow of our energy, and that stops the energy and it stops the magnetism. So if you were to think in terms of the center, oh, we just want these people to come so that they can pay for classes, that's going to block the energy and block the magnetism. But if you think, oh, we want these people to come because we want to help them, we want to serve them, we want to help their lives be better and easier, that increases the magnetism. And so the first part of increasing magnetism or increasing energy is the willingness with which you do something. Swami used to talk about willpower, and then after a little while he generally tended not to talk so much about willpower because willpower seems a little bit grim. And then he began to talk more about willingness and enthusiasm. And the first title of his very first album of songs was Say Yes to Life. And that yes-saying principle, see, that it's like a switch. As I was saying, the energy is all around us, but we have a switch, which is our willingness, that allows that energy to flow. So the more we say yes to something, the more that energy will flow. And so as we are opening this new center, no one person can do it. And even if one person could do it, nobody else would have the fun. So part of the magic with which Swami Kriyananda created Ananda was, even though he was very, very capable, he immediately and always involved others in doing something. Because when you do something, when you help create something, when you have your own energy and willingness into it, it, as I was saying, Master said that we're blessed by the energy that flows through us. And so if one person did all of the work, we wouldn't receive the blessings of being able to participate in that. If you had one rich donor who said, oh, don't worry about the money, I'm going to supply all the money, you don't need to worry about it, you would lose all of the good karma that comes from you putting your resources into it. And so it's very, very important as Ananda expands that we allow the opportunity for everyone who wants to be able to participate and not just passively receive. So coming back to the how to raise your energy, so the first thing is to understand that the energy flowing through us is what we're trying to create. Now there are different ways that we can raise that energy. Here I'm really talking about one could say the quantity of energy, and I'll talk a little bit later about the quality of it. But how do you raise the quantity of energy? Think of it like a flow of water through a pipe. How do you raise the flow of that water so that it flows more strongly? Well, Master gave us, first of all, the energization exercises. those work on so many levels that we don't even begin to comprehend. Davy was just having a massage with a woman who has is a real expert and a healer with massage, and she was working to work on a certain technique that opened up the flow of energy in the lymph system. The lymph system is that which kind of cleanses the body of material. And so if you have a good flow in the lymph system, you're going to feel healthier. And she just casually remarked that one of the best ways that we can open up the lymph system is with the energization exercises. Now, we don't think when we're doing the double breathing and the tensing and relaxing, we don't think, oh, I'm really opening up my lymph system now. We're just, as we should be, concentrating on the flow of energy. But that flow of energy, see, Master is giving us a technique here that brings that flow of energy under the control of the conscious mind. And so the ability to send and then relax and withdraw that energy, that allows us to do that in all of our outward activity. And more importantly, it allows us to do it in our meditation, because our meditation practices are built around the flow of energy or techniques of prana. And so the energization is important. He talked about proper diet. Proper diet raises the energy because the body is healthier and stronger. And just very simply, it's a lot of fresh vegetables, a lot of fruits, not very many grains and very little sugar, so that it is foods that have a lot of prana in them. So there are many things: exercise daily, having adequate sleep, all these things raise the physical energy. But more important than the physical energy is the energy of willingness. We can do affirmations, we can do chanting, we can do anything that connects us to God and has a positive flow of energy in a mental way will help. And so the more we do that, the more our minds are engaged. And then also, if we consciously have a sense that it's the divine flowing through us, then that brings the divine in. And I'll just end by talking about a few things that block the energy. So if we think of the energy flow being like water through a pipe or through a hose, if there are a lot of obstructions in that hose, then the water can't flow very freely. And so those obstructions are things like doubts, ill health, kind of unwillingness, conflicted energy. Oh, I should do this, but I don't really want to do this. All of those things, fear, anxiety, all of those things obstruct energy. And you know, if I'll just use the example, when we first asked Abhishek to begin teaching and helping lead, he was resistant to it because it was new to him. And he said, no, not me, not me. But gradually he overcame that resistance, and now there's a flow of energy and a magnetism in his teaching. And he's put a lot of energy. He has learned all of the yoga postures. He's taken meditation teacher training, all of those things. See, it's all about a flow of energy. And as we do that, and then I'll end with just one final thing. Have fun. Have fun and be joyful. Grim flow of energy is, maybe you can get something done that way, but it isn't going to be magnetic. If Swami always did whatever he was doing with a lot of joy and a lot of, he just had fun doing it. He had one of the best laughs of anyone. when he was amused, he had a big, what we call a belly laugh, one of those laughs that is just not a hee 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 hee, but a ho ho ho. That's a great story, and it has a lot of magnetism. Joy is the most magnetic of all of the qualities because it is the most central to the consciousness of God. But I'm sure Devi has a lot that she would like to say, and then we want to leave some time for questions and answers.
Hello, everyone. It's so, again, I just want to say, in case you joined us a little late, we're so happy to be able to share with you all of our friends in our different centers throughout India, and whether you're part of a center or not, if you're just tuning in from wherever you are. But it's wonderful to stay connected. Now, let's get on to our topic, shall we? And how to raise our energy to meet life's new challenges. Well, there are different kinds of challenges in life, aren't there? Some of them are not pleasant. Some of them we're faced with a health problem that's just come up. We are faced with a financial setback. There are problems in our family. These are challenges that come to all of our lives. And then there are positive challenges, like starting a new center or beginning a new project. So one has a natural enthusiasm that can rise us up, even though we may not be absolutely certain how to proceed. But the other is more of a problematic nature. But both of them are challenges, aren't they? And they both really require the same technique to raise our energy. That's the crux of it. Once Swami was giving a talk about facing challenges, and he gave a very good visual illustration. He said, think of if you're faced with a challenge, be it a negative one or a positive one, think of that challenge as a curve on a graph, and try to feel how much energy that challenge is going to require. If it's dealing with health problems, then I'll have to go to the doctor, I'll have to get treatment. If it's dealing with family problems, we'll have to talk this through, maybe get some counseling here, whatever it might be. If it's dealing with a positive challenge, okay, we're going to have to decorate the new center, we'll need to get carpets, we'll need to paint it. So try to raise our energy. The first step is to try to get a grip on, try to get a feeling of how much energy you're going to need to put out. And so Swami used that visual illustration. If this is the energy of the challenge, then we have to come up with more energy to overcome, to conquer, to rise above, or to succeed in that challenge. So this is very helpful. I found this in my life. If I look at a daunting task or a problem, I try to feel, what is this going to take? And then you say, okay, it's not this big unknown area that I'm moving into, and I can summon up that much energy. And so, again, whether it's positive or negative, in a sense, it doesn't matter. Master said that every test we face is a test of our willpower. So if it's building a new building or dealing with a serious medical diagnosis, it still requires that you summon up the energy. And what are the things now that Jyotish mentioned some of them, but I think one of the most important thing that diminishes our energy, important factor that diminishes our energy is negative attitudes. I can't, it's too hard, I've just received a death, terminal diagnosis. Believe me, I have known a number of people in my life who have received terminal medical diagnosis, but with positive energy, by practicing the techniques that Master gave of meditation, right diet, people have defied the medical profession and healed themselves. So nothing in this physical world is the ultimate reality. Nothing in the physical world is the ultimate reality. More important than that is the power of the mind, and more important than that is energy, and most important of all is divine attunement and magnetically getting aligned with the power of God and Guru. Swami often told a story, maybe you heard him share this story, of one of his fellow monks, a Gurubai. And this man was originally from Switzerland, and he was a mountain climber, rock climber, and he had done many first ascents in his career. He was very accomplished. And one day he was trying an ascent of a mountain that no one had ever done. You can think of that as the curve on the graph. And he was climbing up, and he thought he could do it. But then he came up to a certain point, and he saw why no one had ever attempted this particular approach to the mountain, because he got up to a certain point and there was a ledge. And the ledge was not just flat and then continued, but the ledge curved over and overhung into space. There was no way you could climb that on a rational physical level. But this man said, well, I have a choice. I can stay on this ledge and die of starvation and exposure, or I can just try. I will put out energy. And so he would start, say this is the cliff, he would start walking along, and then boom, gravity would pull him down. And he would do this over and over, and his body was bruised and sore. But he thought, I'd rather die trying than just sit here passively. And then finally, the moment came where he usually would fall down because he was upside down. And he said he literally felt a force holding him up against that mountain lip. And he was able to climb up over it and reach to the top and then come down the other side. So it illustrates beautifully what we're talking about. To face life's challenges, if we have negative attitudes, if we say, it's too much trouble, I don't have the energy, I don't know how. I can't tell you how many times in the building of Ananda we got to the point where we didn't know how to proceed, whether it was building a building, working with government regulations, dealing with financial problems, where we just said, I don't know how we're going to pay these bills. I don't know how we're going to build this building. But we kept going, and always there was that moment. And it's the most beautiful moment in your life, really, short of merging with God, where you're just faced with a challenge. You know by your own human power there's no way you can do it, but then the energy of the universe comes on, and that energy of the universe is attracted by our own positive attitude, our willingness, our enthusiasm, our determination that we will not give up no matter what. Master used the image a little bit not so beautiful, but he said, be like the divine leech, clinging to God. Even though you're torn to shreds, you never let go. And so if we can use those positive attitudes and not get defeated, do not let defeat be a part of your vocabulary. Really, it's the principle that built Ananda. And as I say, I've seen people reverse terminal medical diagnoses. I've seen people in all sorts of situations. And then you call them and you say, well, how are things going? Well, it turned out all right. And it's the power of positive thinking and the magnetism of that faith in God and Guru that draws that divine energy that allows us to go forward. Now, other aspects of how to raise our energy. We've talked a lot about willingness and positive thinking, not accepting defeat, but also concentration, the power of a concentrated mind. The other day, we have a book that it will be coming out in a month or so in America, and it'll come out this fall in India. It's called A Touch of Joy, and it's a compilation of our blogs for the last 2 years that we write. And so Jyotish and I have been recording these blogs so there can be an audio book as well. And so the other night, it had been a long day. We'd been working all day long, and the time that I had to record started at 5:30. And it had to be, and we'd done part of it already, but I thought I had at least 2 hours worth of recording left. And so I wasn't sure, I didn't think we were going to be able to get done. But I just sat down in the little recording studio, and we had our wonderful friend who was the technician. He was helping. And I just said, okay, Divine Mother, I don't have a lot of time here. I'm tired already. It's been a long day. It was pouring rain and freezing outside. I came in and I was all shivery. But I got into a flow. And I just said, this is going to be fun, and we're going to get through this. And in 45 minutes, we finished probably about an hour and 15 minutes worth of recording, or an hour and a half. We just didn't, no mistakes happened. We didn't have to re-record. It just was a flow. And so, but what I did was I just got out of the thought, I'm tired, I don't have enough time, I don't want to be doing this. And I got out of those thoughts, but then I replaced those thoughts with, this is so doable. We can just knock this off without any problems. And that positive thinking just got me in a flow. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so whatever you have to do in life, don't just push, pull, but just the flow. Divine consciousness is a flow of energy. It is not a static thing. And whatever we want to accomplish in life, if we understand how to get in that, jump into that divine stream, and it takes concentration, putting everything else out of your mind. That's what I did. I just said, I'm not thinking about what I've done all day long. I'm not thinking how late it's going to be by the time we're out of here. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to eat because I'm hungry and I haven't eaten dinner yet. I just concentrated on every single word that I had to read, and boom, it was wonderful. It was joyful. I couldn't believe it. And I came home and Jyotish said, oh, you got home early. And I said, yeah, it just went really well. But concentration in whatever it is you're doing supersedes our doubts, our fears, our uncertainty. And ultimately, God is the doer. And we just get in the way by thinking that it's hard. God can do anything, and he can do a lot through each one of us as well. But we have to use that concentrated mind, determination, willingness, positive energy, and finally, Jyotish mentioned Master's dictum, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy, and the greater the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism, to magnetically draw, to attune yourself to God, to your guru, to saints of all religions. And by being in the magnetism, we have the wonderful, wonderful gift, not only of our great guru, Yoganandaji, but of Swami Kriyananda, our founder and our leader, because he was a living demonstration. We saw it applied in his life innumerable times, where he was tired, he was ill, but he just got in that flow of energy and everything went beautifully. And sometimes when I'm a little unsure, can I do this? Well, I'm not sure. Just to tune in to Swamiji, to Master, to their magnetism, nothing was impossible. And I saw miracles happening in Swamiji's life, and I know he all the time was trying to tune into Master's magnetism. And of course we should do both. But when you're about to start a new project, bring it into meditation. think of the Guru, think of Swamiji, think of saintly people who, without ego, have been able to achieve incredible things. For the work that Mother Teresa of Calcutta started, humble nun, without, no organizational skills, but because she just had the desire to serve others, just what she was able to accomplish and how the people she was able to help. So when you're about to face a challenge, positive or negative, draw magnetically on people of spiritual accomplishment. Draw their magnetism. And this can be in your own meditation too. Because meditation is often a challenge for people. So if you want to go deeper in your meditation, think about the saints. Think about the people who are able to meditate well. We had the opportunity a number of times, many times over the years, to meditate with Swamiji. And I remember once when we were in India, this was 1998, and we went to Puri, to the Karar ashram, where Yoganandaji's Guru, Swami Shri Yukteswar, where his body resides in the Samadhi Mandir. And we meditated there with Swamiji. We have a beautiful photo of him meditating there. And it was thrilling. At one point, I just stopped meditating and just began looking at Swami, because you could just feel with every fiber of his being, he was offering himself in total humility, giving without any reservation. I offer myself to you, my Param Guru. And those vibrations still exist. Where a great saint has meditated, we can tune in. And even in a physical place, just thinking of their consciousness. So these are all ways that you can raise your energy to meet the challenges. And most of all, and I'll just close with this and then see if you all have any questions. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what life brings you. If it's a problematic challenge or a wonderful new opportunity that you have to figure out, don't be afraid, but give it all to God and Guru, and they will guide you, their energy. And a life lived in this way, you look back and you can just say, I don't know how all that happened, but it did somehow or other. I remember, and I'll close with this one thought, and then you can see if you have questions. A few years ago, Swami Shankarananda from Rishikesh came to visit Ananda, and he was walking around, Ananda village, I should say, and he was walking around and he said, I don't know how Swami Kriyananda did all this. And then he paused and he said, oh, he didn't do it. God did it. And that's the truth. We can raise our energy to face life's challenges, but ultimately God is the doer. And the more we realize this, the more we are able to accomplish God's will in this world. So thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts. So now see if you all have any questions. I can see Abhishek is getting his list out.
I received the question and I just read it out. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the question is, things don't always go our way despite putting in best of efforts and hoping for success, and it can be quite disappointing. And it can pull us down into inaction. How to pull ourselves out of that state of inaction?
Good question.
You go ahead first.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about this somewhat already, but inaction is often a kind of mental or spiritual paralysis. We've been disappointed in life, and so we just say, I don't know how to proceed. I shut down. But we need to read two important points. One is I remember in some years ago, 1976, when village was burnt to the ground. That was not exactly our first choice, but it happened. And Swami wrote me a little note, and he said, "I'm very sorry for the losses that happened to all of you, but always remember, what God gives, we take." And so if you can start with acceptance of whatever happens in your life, don't feel like God's betrayed you, that he's forgotten about you. Whatever comes into your life, if you are whether you're a devotee or not, what comes in your life is God bringing this to you to help you be freed of your karma. It may not always be easy. Very often it isn't easy. But if we let it defeat us, if we had let adverse circumstances defeat us, then we're missing the point. But if we say, okay, just like in that curve we were talking about, this thing has happened, I'm going to need to put out this much more energy and try to rise above the circumstances. If we become spiritually paralyzed and inactive, then we've given up. There's really no hope. But if we say, I may not succeed like that man climbing the mountain, but I'd rather die trying. And so Master was a warrior. He was a warrior king in many lifetimes. And in this lifetime, he was a spiritual warrior. And so much of his teachings, so much of what he shared and taught and wrote about was how to be a spiritual hero in the face of opposition and difficulty. So it's easy to give up, but ultimately, I remember once I was early on in my life at Anand, I became discouraged at a certain point, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I should just leave the path, it's too hard and all that. And I was really in a lot of confusion. And fortunately, I think a little divine grace came in, and I thought, yeah, you can walk away from your challenges right now, but you're going to have to, one time or another, you'll be in this exact same place again. Might as well proceed now rather than wasting all that time. So remember that. Whatever adverse circumstance happens, if you don't move through it, you'll be faced with that same test again. So for my preference is, let's get it over with. So I don't know if Jyotish...
Yeah, I will add a few very practical things. One is that when we first are challenged and we get discouraged, even Master said, have a good night's sleep. Because if your energy, that kind of shock draws your energy down, and when your energy is down, things seem impossible. Have a good night's sleep. In the morning, you will feel more energetic and more able to face that challenge. Devi used that illustration of a test being like a curve, and Swami said there are two ways to overcome that. First of all, the best way is if you can get your energy up higher than that challenge, then you will overcome it. But he said also that energy will peak and it will begin to come down. And so sometimes just a night's rest will allow a problem to be able to be seen in a way that you can face it and feel confident. Another thing is, especially when you're challenged and a little bit discouraged, try to be with friends who have energy and positive thoughts, because they will help lift you up and help you see the possibilities, and avoid like poison those people who pull your energy down or try to tell you, oh, it's too big of a challenge, or just give up. Just that's not going to help.
You know, that's so true. I remember some years ago, I had received word that my father had passed away unexpectedly. And of course, this is always a shock. And I knew I had to leave he lived some distance from Ananda, so I had to leave to get a plane to fly back. And I went into the dining room to have breakfast before I left to catch the plane. And at that time we had breakfast in silence, so nobody could talk. And so I went in there and I couldn't, no one was talking. They had just come out of meditation. But it was so comforting. I just sat there without saying a word to anyone, just feeling their quietude, their strength, their peace. And that experience got me through all of the difficulties that lay ahead. So be with positive people in times of challenges and adverse setbacks.
Any other questions, Abhishek? Or anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you see me?
Come forward,
Yes.
a little bit more in front of Abhishek.
Okay.
Good.
Perfect.
Yeah, just wanted to ask that, okay, you try and be positive in the household, but there is always someone there within the family who kind of, refuses to even see, even if your efforts are genuine, you're trying to help them, but they don't want to get out of their comfort zone of negativity.
Okay, do it.
Yeah, it's...
So how do you help them?
Well, it's always a little bit difficult, you know. To a certain extent, it's very hard to help a person who does not want to be helped. It's like trying to pour water in a cup that's turned upside down. You just, it won't receive that. Swami would sometimes wait a very, I'm meaning years, he would wait a very long time before he would make a suggestion to a person. And so sometimes if a person is unwilling, the worst thing that we can do is to try to give them advice or try to force something on them, because once they say no to something, then it creates a barrier. So the first thing to do is to try to do something maybe that's a little bit off point, just to get their energy moving. So let's just take, for example, you have a child who doesn't study, doesn't want to study, and you're trying to give them good advice, you're trying to get them through school, you know how important it is, and so all of that, they just aren't ready to receive. So it's better to engage them in something that they enjoy doing, almost as a reward, and just to get their energy moving. And so if there's no energy moving, it's like you can't steer a ship that's dead in the water. It doesn't even matter if it's going in the wrong direction. At least once the energy is moving, then you can begin to steer it. So look for ways, even the littlest thing, that they will say yes to. I'll give you an example. Our son, at a certain time, and he did not like school very much. And it was a real difficult challenge to get him to study, and he was very bright, but he wouldn't study and didn't like the challenge of school. But he loved music, and so we encouraged him in his music, because that got a flow of energy going. And then once that flow of energy was going, then you can introduce, well, before you're able to play music, you have to finish your homework. And so look for the ways that there can be some flow of positive energy. If it's an adult and they're a chronic complainer or chronic, don't want to do anything, just sometimes it's better not to fight the battle if you don't have to.
And I'll just add briefly, Master talks a great deal about magnetism. And he said a strong positive magnetic person will influence a weak negative person. But a strong negative person will influence the weak positive magnetism of another person. So if the person you're dealing with, if their negativity is very strong, then you're going to need to be stronger, not in your positivity, in your right attitude. And maybe it's nothing you say to the person, maybe it's no physical interaction, but that's why meditation is so important, to create harmony and peace within us and in the world around us. So strengthen your own positivity through meditation, through service, through right attitude, and then just understand that the laws of magnetism work. And if your positive magnetism is stronger than that person's negative magnetism, you will change them.
And I'll just add one final thing. There are many, many times in life that we can't change a person's behavior, but never, ever withdraw your love from that person. Because love is a very powerful force, and ultimately it will provide the environment internally. They will feel that love and begin to be able to work on themselves. So, and don't always expect them to change.
In fact, rarely do people change,
Yeah.
But we have to accept them. And that's another thing. When a person feels criticized or judged, they become entrenched in their patterns of behavior. But if they feel loved and unconditionally accepted, that is the oil that allows the machinery of personal transformation to come into play. So it's so important to see. Swami Kriyananda did this with thousands of people I saw. If they were good, bad, wise, foolish, helpful, destructive, he related to the highest that was in that person, and that helped that person to grow towards that positivity, towards their higher self. Well, I think our time is up to be with you. So thank you so much. It's just been a joy. And to our friends in Noida, Panchshilpar, Gurgaon, Pune, Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, all of you, and then
All India.
and all of India, we just send our love, and our hearts are with you. And let's close with a prayer.
Okay, let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Bless us. Bless all those around us with your love and joy. We offer ourselves into thy light. Receive us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
God bless you all.
God bless you.